Washing machines have been a thing in my artwork since before Instagram existed, and posting my illustrations on the earlier photo sharing network Flickr led me to discover a group of people collecting photos of cats in washing machines. It made me realise it wasn't just one of the cats I grew up with. Other people's cats do it too, and it inspired this daily drawing from 2011. The idea from the drawing was still sticking in my head a few years later when I set about making a children's book. I had no idea what I was doing making a book. All I had as a reference were a couple of favourite kids' books I'd kept on my shelves and my silly idea. So I began trying to panel out a story. I didn't even finish this page before I decided if I was going to do this properly, I should work in a sketchbook instead of loose sheets of the worst kind of printer paper. This sketchbook holds the first few versions of Alley Cat Rally as I built it into a story. I had a crazy notion at this stage to do the whole book in black and orange only, so that's what I did. Once I had my ideas storyboarded, I redraw it all at full size before I brought it into the computer to tidy up and lay out into a book. I was really proud of myself for having made a story, so I indulged in getting a copy printed while I did the unrewarding work of sending it out to as many publishers as I could think of. Flying Eye not only replied to me, but they gave me a ton of great feedback too, which was remarkably kind of them. Unfortunately though, it took me a couple of years of being an artist before I really got on board with the feedback they gave me. But eventually I reworked the story and made a new version. I adapted my ideas into an even more rudimentary storyboard and introduced a handful of new illustrations and a more adventurous page design. I eventually felt even more proud of it than my first version, so I got another copy printed. I put photos of this printed book on my website, which ended up being the right thing to do because it wasn't until I was pitching them a completely different book idea that a different person at Flying Eye asked what the kids' book on my website was. I realised that it's not often that one gets second chances, so I didn't indulge myself in as much time being an artist and got straight to work. One of the most significant points of feedback was to make it more colourful, which yielded this short-lived version. I figured out a new colour palette for the book while doing this. I wanted to keep it feeling like it was happening in the small hours before humans would be awake, and thought the colour selection helped make it feel like early morning. The other feedback I got was to add more detail to everything. My sketchbook was full at this point anyway, so I decided it would be easier to iterate and improve things if I just moved the whole project into the computer, and I began working on a whole new version. The work on it paid off because Flying Eye offered to publish it as long as I kept working on it in the same way. I love finishing projects though, so in the months that followed I reworked all of the other illustrations in the same way. The editorial process was productive, but I had to fight more of those terrible artist's instincts and allow them to help me refine the story to get it ready for the public. A few more illustrations were dropped and added, but we got there in the end and it went off to print. A few weeks later, a very heavy surprise package showed up on my doorstep, my own author advance copies. And that's how Alley Cat Rally happened. Thanks for watching.